Hello, AP students. This is Mrs. Politsky, and I have notes for Chapter 6, Learning, Part 8, Cognitive Learning, and we're going to talk about cognitive maps. So, cognitive maps, this is actually something that comes out of the world of Edward Tolman, and a lot of his research was done with obviously lab rats, but cognitive maps are a mental representation of a physical space. And Edward Tolman proposed this idea. The whole idea that it's mental images and not behavior. So a cognitive map was the only account for a rat quickly selecting an alternative route through a maze when the preferred path was blocked. And learning, for the most part, was a mental process, not a behavioral one. Tolman offered another experiment, and after the rats had learned to run a maze, he happened to flood the maze with water to show that the rats were quite capable of swimming through the maze. Instead of learning merely a sequence of right and left turns, Tolman argued that they had acquired more abstract mental representations of the maze's spatial layout. And so, learning without reinforcement, Tolman allowed his rats to wander freely about the maze for several hours, during which they received no reinforcement whatsoever. And the last rats were later able to negotiate the maze um, for food reward more quickly than rats who had never seen the maze prior to that. And hence, that's where we come into this concept of latent learning. Anyway, the significance of Tolman's work, what made Tolman's more work both significant and provocative, is that it's challenging the prevailing behavioral views of Pavlov, Watson, and Skinner. And Tolman accepted the idea that psychology must study observable behaviors, but he also showed that simple associations between a stimuli and a response could not explain the behavior observed in his experiments. Tolman's cognitive explanation presented a challenge to the whole concept of behavioralism. And brain imaging has pointed to the hippocampus as a structure involved in drawing our cognitive maps in our brain. And organisms learn spatial layouts of their environment by exploration, and they do so even if they are not reinforced for the exploring. Thank you very much.